Hello and welcome to another video of Think Mobile. Today we are going to talk about generics. Yes, that is one of the most confusing part of the Swift. But trust me guys, this is one of the most powerful concept and a tool in Swift you will have and ever come across. So let's get going. Let me begin with Swift official documentation and what it says. If you're new to Swift and you don't know where the Swift documentation is, you can go to swift.org and choose your topics from here. So now I have selected generics and let's go over the documentation. What it says is generic code enables you to write flexible, reusable functions and types that can work with any type. So any type is a type here, and if you're not familiar with that, I have posted another video on what is any type. Please check out that. I will post the link in the description. Even if you have done basic Swift programming, you have already used generics. Surprise? Yes, you have already used generics. Arrays and dictionaries are the two collection types which are already a generic type. What I mean by that is, look at this. If you read this part, then you'll see that you can create an array that holds integer values and an array that holds string values as well. Now this might sound a little bit abstract and confusing to some of you, so let's dive into example. Okay, let's consider this example. Let's say you have given an array of strings, basically the city names, and you have to find the index of a given element. Let's say if I enter Mumbai, then you have to enumerate through the array and return its index. So we are doing the same in this function. It takes array, it takes the element to be searched, and it enumerates through the array, and it simply matches the current element and the given element and returns the index. Now that was pretty simple, but let's say after a few days you have a new requirement and you have, instead of this array with the names of the cities, you have been given zip codes. Now let's consider, for the sake of this example, the zip codes which you are getting are in form of integers. Maybe you have to perform some arithmetic, but usually the even if it is zip codes, you will receive it in the form of strings. But for the sake of this example, we will consider you have an array with zip codes in with the type int. Let me type it over. Okay, now this is my array with the zip codes, and I have to perform, as you can see, this is type integer, but I have to perform the same operation of finding the index of given element. But now my function is of type int. In usual scenario, what would I do is I would make a similar function of this type with changing this string type as integers. So it will work fine, but it would be a duplication of code, isn't it? So here is the part where generics come into the picture. So without duplicating the code, what I can do is I can simply change this type to generics. So let's see how we can do that. Alright, so let me go ahead and copy this function and write a generic function with the generics which can take any type. Maybe it is string, maybe it is integer, it might be something else. Although we say it any type, but there are some restrictions and I will come to that in a second. So let's make a change to this function. So I will say find index with generics, and what this does is, let me type it out first and then I will go over it. Okay, so there we have the code. So what I have done is, instead of specifying a type, I have just taken a generic type. Now this can be anything, but in Swift you must have generally seen people using capital T as the generic type. Now how it works is that you replace the string type or any specific type with the alphabet T or anything else which you want, and but it should be the same everywhere which you want to replace. Okay, and then what is this? I will come to this in a second, bear with me. So assume that this is not there and we have just T, T and T in all three places. So what my function should look like now? Let me call the function. Okay, now you can see the function signature has changed. What it is asking you is a comparable type. So if you look into the Swift documentation, there are some types which are conforming to comparable protocol. And what it means is that you can compare the two elements in that array or any collection type. So if it is integer, it can be compared, the two integers can be compared, two strings can be compared. Because we are comparing here, our only constraint which will be on this type will be comparable, so that we can at least compare. Now if there are two objects, say object car and object person, we cannot compare that, so they are not comparable, for example. Okay, so let's go ahead with this. What I can say here is that I can pass in the zip codes and I can ask it to find maybe this one. Let's see how it works, and I will print index generics. All right, there we go. So let me change this and see if this is working. All right, so there we go. If we want, I have not deleted this function because we can compare it. See, if you can see, in this function we can pass integer as well as strings. Now let's change this to city names and we would get the similar result, desired result I mean. There we go, 0 and 1. So as you can see, in this function with generics we can pass any comparable type, any type of collection which conforms to this protocol comparable. So that's it for today's video, guys. If you still not understood the generics concept in depth, then don't worry, we will be using lots of generics in our future videos. So please stay tuned, like, share and subscribe. Thank you.